Hey, what's up everybody? This is Brian and welcome back to Saving Data in iOS video tutorial series. In this video tutorial, you'll learn about property lists, how to create them and change them, and of course, how you will be able to use them inside of your app. Property lists are a collection of data that's distilled into some very basic types. Essentially, it works by using key-value pairs. You provide a key and then store a value for that key. Values can be strings, numbers, and booleans, as well as arrays and dictionaries. You can read property lists in your app, which is a great way for storing configuration data, but you can also use them to model your object data as well. There are three types of property lists. The first kind is an XML property list, and this is the default property list. What's nice about an XML property list is that you can edit them via the property list editor, or you can just edit the raw source code if you want. This means your property list is device independent, which is useful when you are working across platforms. The next kind of property list is a binary property list. These are useful when your property list gets big and you need your list to be performant. Binary property lists are fast, but of course you'll lose the ability to edit them by hand and you may run into some platform issues. The last kind of property list is the ASCII legacy property list. This is a type of list that was released in OS 10.2. They're a read-only format, you can't save to them, and they only support 4 basic types. Property lists ultimately have a limited amount of types for you to work with. You can only read and write using these types. The first column indicates the general type that is available. As you can see, you can have arrays, dictionaries, and even data to work with. The next column is the XML equivalent. If you're altering this property list in code, you would use these element names. The final 2 columns indicate the objects that are from both Objective-C and Swift. If you use an object that is not supported, then a nil will be substituted instead.
Working with plists in iOS apps is pretty critical because iOS relies heavily on plists. In this demo, I've created a simple plist that we're going to work with. You can see here it's called books, and if I open this up, you can see it has a root, and the first item is a book. This contains data about this book. It has iOS Apprentice, is the name, the page count is say 594, it has a publication date, and it has a thumbnail, which is just simple data that's been put inside this plist. I can also view my plist as raw XML. If I select the plist, right-click and select Open As, I can choose source code, and you can see the raw XML here. If I want to go back, I'll just simply right-click, choose Open As property list, and now I can just view this again as a regular plist. At this point, I want to access my plist. And to do this, I'm going to get a URL. Since the plist is included with my playground, I can access it using NSBundle. I can simply call NSBundle and then call the static method mainBundle. And from the main bundle, I can call URL for resource, like so. I'm going to pass in the name books with the extension plist. I'm also going to get a reference to my file manager as well, since I'll be using this throughout this demo. Now that I have a URL to my plist, I'm going to convert it to data. So I'm going to create a variable called plist data, and I'm just going to pass in an NSData and using contents of URL. And I'm just going to force unwrap this optional. Inside this block, I now know that I have an NSData that contains all the data for my plist. At this point, I need to now create a plist from this data. First, I need to determine what format it is, and I'm going to create a variable called format. And it's going to be NS property list, format, and then XML format 1. Now I'm going to do some code that can throw an error. So I'm going to be using a do catch block. Here's where I now get my plist. I'm going to call on the object NS property list serialization. I'm going to call the method property list with data. I'm going to pass in my plist data, and then I have some URLs. If I click the period, you can see we have a bunch of things, and these have to do with immutability. I can choose immutable, mutable container, or mutable container and leaves. Mutable meaning I can change them. This is going to be read-only for me for now, so I'll just put immutable. And for the format, I got to put ampersand format like so. Now I have my plist, so I'm going to get the first book. And the plist is returning to me an array of dictionaries. So here's my first book, and now I can print out each item in there. And here we have optionals wrapped inside of optionals, like so. So here I'm printing out the name, and you can see here on the right here, it's iOS Apprentice. And I can keep on doing this with all the various properties contained within that plist. And here I grab the name, the page count, the publication date, and of course the image that is included with that entry. Creating a plist is actually relatively easy as well. I'm going to create a new entry. This is going to be a new book. All I did in this example was first I got a UI image based on an image that I've included with the bundle. And as you can see here, it's this image that it's referencing right here. And this is for our upcoming book, iOS Apprentice. And then what I did was I converted that image into a ping representation. Basically, this turns that image into an NS data. And then I created a dictionary and put all the relevant information into this dictionary like so. Now I'm going to create an array based on the existing book. And this book here I'm referencing is this dictionary that was the first element of our plist. And then I'm going to add another book like so. So now we have an array of two dictionaries. Now that I have my two books into an array, I'm going to serialize it into my property list. And to do this, I'm going to call a method on the object NSPropertyList serialization. And the method I'm going to call is data with property list. I'm going to pass in my books. And for the format, I'm going to select NSPropertyList format, and we'll just set this as an XML format. And for options, I'm going to provide none. What this method does is it takes that array of dictionaries and basically converts it into a plist and returns the data. Now that I have this data, I can just save it to my document directory. And I'm going to give this the name books.plist. And once I have the URL of where I'm going to save my file, I can simply just write that to disk. And let's print out our document directory. And let's see how this saved. So I'm going to select the URL here. I'm going to go to my Finder, and I'm going to select go to Folder, add my new URL. And here in my documents, you can see my books plist. If I open this up, we now have our new plist with our new item added to it.
That's it for this video tutorial, but as always, we like to leave you with a challenge. In your challenge, you'll be reading in a property list, making some changes, then writing out to disk. For more information, check out the challenge document. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.